Okay, morning, folks. Welcome to the briefing on Monday the 9th. Uh, yeah, pretty wet and miserable weekend. But as you can see here, we've got a slight interlude between the next band of fronts, or the ones that have gone through yesterday, and the next band of fronts that are lining themselves up for tomorrow. So small ridge of high pressure, just building, I think, more this afternoon and into the evening, overnight. Rather than today, we're in a sort of westerly airflow, quite showery, and I think all this sort of occluded front is actually showing that there's showers drifting through this morning, and this afternoon it dries out a little bit, and you'll see that from the rainfall radar a little bit later. Reasonably tight spacing on the isobar, so it's still going to be windy today. I mean, the jet stream is just coming along here, kinking around this way, but it is basically over us and driving these fronts in and across us. The Tafts, Farnborough, some interesting bits. 240, I think it's more westerly looking at the windsock here. More like about 260 at the moment. Not quite down the main runway, but slight amount of south in it. Between 9 and 11, broken at 1,200 feet. Well, Farnborough currently giving 2.7, but I reckon that broken at 1,200 feet is probably here now. Cloud base looks between 1,000 and 1,500 feet. And then a prob 30, gusty at times, 15 gusting 25, with the occasional showers and rain. So seems to be the trend of reasonably breezy, chance of showers. With the upper winds, middle of the country, westerly upper winds, fairly strong. You can see 35, 40 knots. Down to the south of us, a little bit more northwesterly, just a touch. The same sort of wind strength, 35 to 40 knots. And I think that'll be the theme of today, very strong upper winds. You'll get to the top of the winch launch and not really go very far. Sat pick, let's do a quick refresh on this. It wasn't picking much up earlier. So what it's showing is some brighter bits. As you can see, that the brighter bits in here are actually showers. Raft of showers here, some showers here, but they are with typical westerly wind direction. They're coming off the sort of Bristol Channel area and the Irish Sea, and then they're drying out as they get to us. So I think we'd be unlucky to catch a hefty shower, just perhaps a little bit of intermittent rain occasionally. I think there's drying out air here, and the rainfall radar shows that. You can see these showers just coming across here and just fizzling out, really. And I think that'll be the case for today. And it gives you an idea of the upper wind, which is a touch north of west. Temperature-wise, it's going to feel quite a bit cooler today than perhaps the weekend. More the westerly direction, northwesterly. Yeah, 6, 7 degrees, maybe 8 degrees. With a bit of wind chill on that, it's probably going to feel like about 5 or 6 degrees out there. So certainly wrap up warm today, folks. And top meteo, I think, is a bit on the optimistic side. I mean, showing not a lot of cloud in here during the day. Bits of cumulus forming, and relatively cloud free. It does show a few showers for most of the day in the West Country. I think there's going to be more cloud than that, to be honest. It doesn't take into account how wet the ground is and that level of moisture that's going to be trapped in there, giving us perhaps a little bit more cloud. But you know, quite reasonable. Upper winds and gusts, it's sort of showing middle of the day. Gusts up around 25 knots. at times. And I think that's going to be the case. It's going to be fairly breezy, folks. Okay, so breezy day, should be flyable fairly shortly. I think it's going to slowly get better. Chance of an odd shower, but I think we'd be unlucky if we catch one. Okay, airspace wise, nothing, no TAM near us in terms of airspace, usual stuff here, but nothing to worry about. Just opening times for Southampton. Just wish they'd change it and adjust their opening times officially, rather than issuing a no TAM. So quiet in terms of airspace. It's going to be fairly quiet in terms of things floating about as well. Powered aircraft. Don't quote me on that, because the rest of the week the weather forecast looks fairly poor, so people might be out trying to make the most of it today. How are we going to operate? Well, we'll discuss the operations first, and then I'll look at the long list of potential jet movements and aircraft movements that are taking place today. So a lot of rain over the last couple of days. The ground here, and certainly along the edge of the Perry track here, will be fairly soggy. So when you're towing out, come out a little bit and down the center of the grass here, which is a little bit drier. We're going to have the launch point set up here. Initially, I think we're going to try the cables on the south side with the winch down here somewhere. Gliders on the southern part of the runway. Launch point vehicle just to the north of the centre line, and then aero towing off the northern edge here. If we find the cable drift is taking the cables to the south, then we'll swap over and have cables on the north side. If we do that, then we'll stick the launch point vehicle on the north side here, and I'll explain why in a minute. You'll understand why in a minute when we look at the number of aircraft movements we've got. So circuits. Obviously, we're trying to use the runway. If you're circuiting to the south, you land grass on the south or on the main runway. If you're circuiting to the north, you just land on the grass north side. Don't land on the runway. That avoids mirrored circuits, the same landing area. So circuits to the south, land on the runway. If we swap over, we might change that, but I think we'll probably stick to it most of the day. Jet movements. Okay, well, we've got, in theory, an A319 coming in at 11:30, another A319 coming in at 11:45. So with a bit of luck, they'll be able to coordinate, and we get rid of both of those reasonably promptly at the same time. But one's coming from Milan, so anything could happen. What we do have is PA31s in and out all day. We've got a Navajo in at 9:50, another one departs at 10:15, another inbound at 15:15, and another departure at 1600 hours. So they'll obviously just come onto the runway, backtrack, depart from here, or if they're landing, then what we will do is they will land long, but we will actually move the stuff off the runway, because they're not capable of overlanding the gliders when they're this far forward and having enough runway left to deal with it. So we'll move the stuff off if they're landing. Parking the gliders, if you could park them just along the edge here, or if you're not going to use it, park it down right on the edge of the perimeter track here. So essentially, if gliders on the runway, it's going to be used. If not, park it out of the way. Okay, folks, looks all right out there at the moment. I guess finish your cup of tea or coffee or whatever you're having, and then we'll go out and open the hangar doors.